All right, a reminder of one of our top stories. The Democratic Alliance is planning to lay criminal charges tomorrow against the Higher Education Minister, Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane. And you do know what has been taking place in that committee there in Parliament as far as the issues are concerned. You think about the seaters, the board chairpersons as well, and the names that the minister subsequently released to the public, which the Democratic Alliance is saying that there is still a name missing, but also that the minister needs to be a bit more transparent with this particular process. We speak now to the DA spokesperson, Karabo Khakhau, who is joining us. Karabo, good evening to you and thank you so much for your time. Why now?
Dumela Usbongiwe, thank you so much for having me and good evening to your SABC viewers. It's not why now. This is a step 3 of a process that has already unfolded as far as official complaints are concerned. You would know, Usbongiwe, that I, on behalf of the Democratic Alliance, have already laid a complaint to the Ethics Committee of Parliament with a supplementary affidavit submitted to the original one. 2, you would know that there's already a public protector case that has already been opened, that has also been acknowledged by the public protector. This is step 3 in our efforts as far as the official mechanisms of holding her accountable, which are obviously secondary to the process that of Parliament that the Democratic Alliance has been embarking on, which dates all the way back from May. So it's not a why now case, it is a why this step after which steps?
That's exactly why I was asking, because if you've now gone to the Ethics Committee, you do have the processes within the Portfolio Committee of which you are part of, and then there's the Public Protector. So put the Public Protector aside for a second, right? And we stay with the Portfolio Committee that you are in and the Ethics Committee. Are you already prejudging these particular processes, or do you think they're taking time? I'm trying to understand, why did you not do everything at the same time there?
You would also know, Usbongiwe, that in the previous Portfolio Committee meeting that had this particular agenda item on its agenda, I, on behalf of the Democratic Alliance, again asked the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Nobuhle, to initiate the process of laying criminal charges on behalf of the Portfolio Committee. To date, Litsia and the ANC have not gotten back on how far they are on this process. We're well within all our way, 3 weeks within that process, which then gives the Democratic Alliance the impression that that Portfolio Committee chairperson is not moving at a pace that is fast enough, and therefore we will do it ourselves, which still does not stop the Portfolio Committee from doing that process, because the more the cases, the merrier. It's very important for South Africans to see that we have an all-hands-on-deck approach as far as dealing with ministers that commit fraud in Parliament by not only lying blatantly about the composition of a panel that the minister says she appointed herself and advised her on the appointments, but also the process itself that was followed to appoint 20 ANC cadres as opposed to 573 applicants of South Africans who don't have any ties to the ANC, who do not owe the ANC and the minister any loyalty.
Karabo, is the chair not moving at your pace? Or is the chair not moving at all? Because I'll tell you why. And it's not just only about the chairperson. When one listens to what is coming out from that particular Portfolio Committee since this issue started, you have a number of members of that committee quite upset about this particular matter, and speaking about the fact that they want accountability and they want the minister there. They don't want to prejudge the matter. They want to be able to get a sense of what exactly may have happened here before they actually decide on other steps that they need to take here. So my question is, are you saying that they're not moving at the pace that you would like? Or is it because the processes there are so weakened, as you say, that the chair and the ANC, the processes are weakened, or you've got no process, no confidence in them?
Two things, Usbongiwe. One, you would know that the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee is an ANC member who sits within the same chief whippery instruction as the culprit here in this case, which is Dr. Nobuhle Nkabane, the minister. So the ANC has been given clear marching orders to protect the minister at all costs. And the reason why I can say this in confidence before the South African Republic right now is because if this wasn't the case, we wouldn't have seen in the same Portfolio Committee meetings the ANC coming to the defense of the minister and instead trying to scapegoat the Director General of the department. Number 2, because of what I just said now, the pace is not moving at a speed that South Africans would like to see, because it is a matter of stalling altogether the process to stifle it as much as they can.
So if all of these steps, right, were important, why didn't you do it last week before the sacking of Andrew Whitfield?
Because it was all part of the plan. So the initial plan the plan is on the calendar. The DA had a plan. We laid the charges from the ethics committee, the complaints, the supplementary thereof, and then we went to the public protector. The next step thereof was to obviously engage the committee, which we did. And then from there, we were going to see whether the committee is going to meet, because you would also, if you follow the committee meetings, you'd know that the resolution in the portfolio committee was that the chairperson was going to consult legal and consult the chair of chairpersons, which is Cedric Frolic, on when the next meeting is. To date, we haven't heard back from the committee at all. What we have heard, however, from the committee is a press briefing of the cluster of social services, where the chairperson of that committee himself has had a light effect version of absolving Nkabane, saying there is no proof of her lying or whatever, and therefore it's still a matter of a question mark, when he himself is in possession of a Hansard report that has all quotes from the minister and her department in the meeting of the 30th of May of lies that she clearly, as all political parties within the committee, with the exception of the ANC, have cited to be a problem.
Karabo, is it coincidental, right, that you've given the president 48 hours to respond to your ultimatum, which he said that he's not going to, and now this is where we find ourselves, where there are now these charges, and then at the same time, you are now not going to be backing some of the budget votes, which KSEC describes as petty, by the way. So is all of this coincidental?
You have two questions therein. One, you would know, Osbongile, that I, on behalf of the Democratic Alliance, wrote an open letter to the president 2 days before the sacking of Andrew Whitfield, which we did not know about, and which is 2 days before the leader was informed, a day before the leader was informed, an open letter to the president asking for him to get rid of Nobuhle Nkabane. So what the next steps are, as far as Nobuhle herself are concerned, are still consistent with the calls that the DA have been making towards this case that we're dealing with SETA appointments. You'd also know that in the past, as far as Thembis Melane is concerned, the DA had made a call in itself that it is not good enough to remove her from justice and take her to human settlements, because you're taking her from a VBS Kija culprit to being a human settlements construction mafia Kija potential culprit, which does not help us in any case and does not help the residents of South Africa who depend on the state to give them housing because they can't afford it themselves, right? So that is the point. Number two, as far as the budget supports are concerned, you would know that every Thursday, Parliament has a slot open from 10 until 1 o'clock for political parties to have caucus meetings. And part of the standard conversations of caucuses is the order of political parties' participation in Parliament, which the budget process is part of and imminent, because the first budget conversations happened, budget debates happened last week, Friday. So it was well part of the plan to say, we can't, in all honesty, as the Democratic Alliance, give Nobuhle Nkabane the power to use a budget that she's already shown us that she doesn't have the integrity and, at the very least, the respect for South Africans to preside over. You give her 19 billion rands for SETAs, and what she does with that 9 billion rands, she trick-or-treats it away like it is Halloween and like a Christmas present or an Easter present to like most loyal cadres.
Karabo.
And then yes,
pardon me for coming in there right on that point. KSEC says you're being petty because you have supported the fiscal framework, and now here you are saying that you're going to do this. But at the same time, it's interesting to note, because you as the DA are saying that if the ANC were to do what you're doing to the ministers that are from the Democratic Alliance, it will not be Correct. I'm trying to understand the politics here, because it doesn't seem like it's about the people of South Africa, but it seems it's like now the two GNU partners are fighting and everyone else must suffer.
It is about the people of South Africa, and here's how, hear me when I explain this, right? So the bottom line here is the difference between the ANC's boycotting of DA ministry budgets and the DA's boycotting of ANC ministry budgets. We've made it clear that as a matter of principle, we're not having a wholesale boycotting on all ANC ministry. We're targeting ministers that we are clear 100% that they do not have the capacity to preside over the money, like Nkabane, like Smelane, like Mahlobo, like Nkabane, and like the Deputy President Mashatile. And our basis here is strictly as far as corruption and maladministration and the lack of the necessary etiquette and ethics concerned to preside over these budgets. The ANC, in response to what we're saying, they're saying, oh, okay, the DA says they want to fight corruption, and they're saying to the president and the ANC, give us another minister that we can back, that we can at least have faith that they are not as fraught as the ones that are currently presented to us right now, then we will vote for your budget. Instead of the ANC saying, yes, okay, sharp, we understand these are legitimate concerns that not only you as the Democratic Alliance have, but the rest of South Africa have, let us replace these people. They want to shove them down our throats. And then as a threat, and which is then where the petty then comes in. They're saying, oh, if you don't support Nobuhle, we won't support John. We won't support Leon Schreiber. You cannot under any circumstance put Leon Schreiber and the work that he's doing in Home Affairs on the same pedestal of comparison as the mess that Nobuhle has.
Karabo, pardon me, at the same time, as a Democratic Alliance, you are comfortable to have these ministers with you in the executive. And I say this because the state capture report is not new. It happened how many years ago, right? And then here you are now. You were able to have some of these people that you are citing. The issue of VBS has happened. It's been months now. Yes, of course, South Africans are waiting for responses and all of that. The question is, if you were able to go into government with these particular individuals in government, could you not make your voices louder then, make your presence felt then, as opposed to doing it now when South Africans are viewing you as if you are wounded? And that is why now everything that you've been holding on to, you are trying to play at in order to be able to get your way, because there is that view.
That is a fair view. It's a fair assessment. Three things. One, you would know, Osbongi, that from the onset, the DA has made it clear that the only reason why we're in the GNU with the ANC that we've been speaking against as far as their corrupt and shady ways are concerned is so that we can have an influence in dialing down on corruption. So conversations on corruption as far as Melane and everybody, Mahlobo and the State Capture Commission are concerned are not new conversations. They're only new to the public's eye. But as far as the revitalization of government's order of business are concerned, they've always been there. So there's nothing new about that. So that's something that we also need to understand as South Africans. Number two, what is important here to understand, and so because of that, it is not also new that we are only bringing to fore the case of Smelane, of Nkabane, of Mahlobo, of Nkabane and Paul Mashatile to now, because you'd also know that we've communicated on that in the past. So it must be clear for South Africans here to understand that the only thing that makes it different right now is that we have exhausted the mechanisms within the GNU to try to resolve it. And now we are at a point where we're giving feedback to our constituents, which are the people of South Africans who've given us the power to not only effect change in government, but to hold government accountable within Parliament. Right. And as far as that mandate is concerned. So these are important things that have always been there. And it shouldn't be seen as a matter of us wanting to play petty politics. What it should be seen here is you can't, under any circumstance, imagine, Ospongi, that it would have been easy for a DA who has an excellent brand of being an anti-corruption buster, having an ANC that has an excellent brand of being corrupt, coexisting within the same government with peace. That was never going to happen.
All right.
But because we knew this, we took up that responsibility, knowing that somebody has to do it. And the DA is glad to fight against corruption for South Africans, even if it's hard, and even if at times it makes us look like we are not team players. But we certainly are not going to pay part of a team in the same field, in the same match with people that are not interested in rooting out corruptions and are wasting South Africans' time.
Karabo, thank you so much for your time. Let's see then what tomorrow holds. As you say, those charges will then be laid. Lots of questions still remain though, but I appreciate your time. That's the DA spokesperson, Karabo Khakhau. And also we reach out to the ANC for comment, and we'll bring you that as soon as we have the ANC available. And we'll also discuss this with Angelo Fick on the other side of 8 o'clock to get a sense of what exactly is going on here in this view, because we've been on the brink for a very long time now. So we'll take a short break and back straight after.